Hello everyone, welcome again to the channel. Today I want to talk with you about this information I found, and this comes from Radio Free Europe, Radio Liberty website, and they say, who are the neo-Nazis fighting for Russia in Ukraine? This is a very interesting article. This article shows here the photo of this Russian neo-Nazi called Alexei Milchakov, which is linked to atrocities in both Ukraine and Syria. So let's talk more about this information here. This is something that is claimed from him. He says, I'm a Nazi, I'm a Nazi. I'm not going to go deep and say I'm a nationalist, a patriot, an imperialist, and so forth. I'll say it outright, I'm a Nazi. You have to understand that when you kill a person, you feel the excitement of the hunt. You have never been hunting, you should try it. It's interesting. So this guy is Milchakov, the head of the paramilitary group known as Rusish. And let's take a look at this part of the video where he's saying that
на стороне сепаратистов.
Вся эта вольница была, разумеется. Но я не думаю, что и прочих, кто воевал.
В Луганской области боевики Русича уничтожили колонну батальона «Айдар». Мельчаков, принимавший в этом участие, открыто рассказывает о том, как фотографировался с телами и частями тел украинских военных.
Я нацист. Я нацист. Я не буду углубляться. Националист, там, патриот, имперское направление и так далее. Я прям говорю, я нацист. Можно руку вскинуть. Понимаешь, когда ты убиваешь человека, ты чувствуешь азарт охотничий. Кто не был на охоте, попробуйте. Интересно.
So you heard just a part of this video where he himself calls himself a Nazi, and he mentioned this part of the video that says you have to understand that when you kill a person, you feel the excitement of the hunt. If you have never been hunting, you should try it. It's interesting. That's how he's referring to people. Now this is the so-called leader of this Russian paramilitary group known as Rusish. He openly embraces Nazi symbolism, and people in his group embrace this same ideology as well. And let's pay attention to that more of these details that come from this article. It says the group and Milchakov himself have been credibly linked to atrocities in Ukraine and in Syria. There is another group that is called Russian Imperial Movement, a white supremacist group that was designated a global terrorist organization by the United States 2 years ago. Rusish is one of several right-wing groups that are actively fighting in Ukraine in conjunction with Russia's regular armed forces or allied separatist units. So they are referring to the Donetsk People's Republic and the Luhansk People's Republic military units. So according to a confidential report by Germany's Federal Intelligence Service, which was obtained by Der Spiegel, numerous Russian right-wing extremists and neo-Nazis are fighting in Ukraine. So they are saying it like he's actively involved, and other groups are actively involved as well in this. So that's the main thing. let's take a look at this a little bit more. So he says Ukraine's famous Azov regiment was formed out of a right-wing militia called the Azov Battalion. Now it's a regiment and is famous for being Nazi sympathizers. The founders openly espoused xenophobic and anti-immigrant rhetoric. Its logos before bore a close resemblance to some used by Nazi units during World War II. Let's pay a little bit more attention to this. It says, for years, Russian officials have seized on Azov, as well as 20th century nationalist figures like Stepan Bandera and others for propaganda purposes, often distorting or exaggerating their views and actions in support of the false assertion that Ukraine is controlled or dominated by neo-Nazis. Okay, so I'm showing you this article, but the main goal of this article is trying to portray Ukraine as exactly the opposite of what they're saying here. You know, they are saying that Ukraine doesn't have a Nazi problem. You know, they are saying that Ukraine is not dominated by neo-Nazis and that Stepan Bandera was not doing all kinds of heinous acts during World War II. They try to say that Azov is not a Nazi organization and that Ukraine is not controlled or dominated by neo-Nazis. That's what they're trying to say in this article. Anyway, regardless of this article gives positive information, important information, because neo-Nazi organizations are all over the world, and especially they are very important in Europe. Unfortunately, this is a global movement and is something that is very negative, and a lot of countries are dealing with this. So what they're trying to do here is kind of frame it in a negative way for Russia. I'm not saying it's positive. I don't condone Nazism in any way, but I think this information is important because it's not widely known, and since Russia is now involved with Ukraine, it's important that we know this information. Some fighters are believed to have joined the ranks of Russian private mercenaries, including Wagner Group, which is a Russian private company, military company, Russisch, as well as the Russian Imperial Movement and its paramilitary unit, the Russian Imperial Legion. Both Milchakov and Petrovsky fought against Ukraine as volunteers in Donbass in 2014 and 2015. Petrovsky is a known associate of Milchakov. You can see the article in more details. I'm just trying to go through the most important parts. So this is one of the main allegations against him. He says in September 2014, near the Luhansk Oblast of Shastia, Russian militants battled a Ukrainian paramilitary group called Aidar. Ukrainian news reports said dozens of Ukrainian soldiers were killed. Afterward, images of mutilated and burned bodies circulated online, and Milchakov later openly bragged about photographing the bodies. So this is really heinous act that this guy and his group did during this period, and I will show you later some of this evidence that it is available for this specific action. What I wanted to mention is also this paramilitary group called Aidar. This also is known for their neo-Nazi tendencies and actions. It's not as widely known as Azov, but it is kind of the same kind of thing. Probably wasn't as famous as Azov, but IDAR is also infamously known for their neo-Nazi tendencies. And here is this guy Milchakov in a photographed in Ukraine in 2014. So he's there. And there was some information which I will show you later. They are trying to provide evidence that confirms that he went to fight for the insurgents. Here there is an article that is called "A Fascist Butcher from St. Petersburg has gone to fight for the insurgents." Petrovsky, his associate, was arrested in Norway, and he was connected with a right-wing group of soldiers of Odin in Norway. Like I was saying, neo-Nazi groups are all over Europe, and this is just a fact. And this is more recent information, because they didn't have any official confirmation that either Milchakov or Petrovsky were in Ukraine after the Russian invasion, and they say that there is some information from a May 27 Telegram channel that appeared to be affiliated with Russia published an undated photograph that purported to show both Milchakov and Petrovsky in Ukraine standing in front of a semi-destroyed armored vehicle. Milchakov is back in action, the post said. Now he's somewhere in the vastness of Ukraine, actively engaged in the denazification and demilitarization. And they go on to say more things now related to this other group that is called the Russian Imperial Movement. And the head of this group, his name is Denis Gariev, posted a message on his Telegram, and he said, "Without a doubt, we are in favor of the liquidation of the separatist entity called Ukraine. Russian imperial movement subscribed to a monarchist ideology, partly derived from a belief that Russia should be led by a descendant of the Romanov dynasty, the family of the last Russian Tsar. This group provided military-style training to white supremacists and neo-Nazis in Europe and actively works to rally these types of groups in a common front against their perceived enemies. The organization Combat Training Center in near St. Petersburg, called Partisan, announced the recruitment of volunteers to fight in Ukraine." This was a few weeks after the initial post by Gariev that we just mentioned before. The organization called Reserve Squad, which according to German intelligence report has been linked to official bodies in the Russian government. They're even providing bodyguard protection to top Kremlin officials. So all of these are neo-Nazi groups, far-right militias, paramilitary groups, and together with Russisch fighters with the Russian Imperial Legion joined the hostilities in eastern Ukraine in 2014 and 2015. And the last thing they mentioned here is coming from a quote from Alexander Verkhovsky, a longtime expert in extremist groups in Russia. He says, "Nationalists played a key role in the first phase of the war." He's referring to 2014. And they were a significant part, not a majority, but significant. Now we don't see here a large number of volunteers from Russia, maybe a maximum of a few dozen. So that's the main thing, and I want to frame this in the right context. They are saying that Russia has paramilitary groups that have neo-Nazi tendencies. That is correct. There are these groups. They are just not a significant portion of the forces. They are not officially condoned or supported as such, which is the contrast that they should make, and they are not doing this contrast. It's a little bit irresponsible. This article, they are trying to somehow whitewash. This is what is called whitewash these actions by Ukrainian government and Ukrainian groups, there is a big difference between these groups fighting unofficially, probably embedded in other official military units. There are probably disgusting human beings in the Russian military. I'm not completely ignorant of the reality of war. Criminals are in the military, in every military in the world. That is a fact. But just the fact that there are some individuals like that, it doesn't make it the whole of the military like that, and it doesn't make it like a Russian government is a Nazis government or is dominated by right-wing groups or is in any way involved officially in this, which is the case for Ukraine. There is ample evidence that Ukraine is negatively influenced by neo-Nazi groups and by powerful individuals that have neo-Nazi tendencies, neo-Nazi inclinations. So instead of making a point positive for what they are saying, is actually they are doing the opposite, because in every country there are neo-Nazis, mostly in all Western countries, there is this kind of groups, and it's a fact that they are very negative influence in every country, and Russia has to deal with this as well, but mostly this is a big problem in Ukraine. So there is no denying about that, and they should really stop trying to say that just because there are neo-Nazis also in Russia is not a neo-Nazi problem, big neo-Nazi problem in Ukraine, and just is I think very irresponsible to try to whitewash these groups just because there is a disgusting human being in the Russian military who is doing all kinds of things and continues to do it. It's just the way it is. I don't think it is correct for them to say that there is not a neo-Nazi problem in Ukraine. There is, and they should deal with it. And unfortunately, they allowed it to grow until the point where there is a National Guard unit and there is a regiment that is completely neo-Nazi, and they have a big influence over the government in Kiev. So that is just the fact. So I'm going to show you more information about this guy, and this is one of the articles they were referring to, where this is from 2014, where they are kind of giving testimony to the fact that he was fighting for the militias of the Luhansk People's Republic. They are reporting that this guy Milchakov constantly posed with Nazi banners and called for the killing of homeless people and dogs. So this is the kind of person he is. I'm not going to show the images here because they are very disgusting and shocking. I will post the link in case you want to look at them yourself, And this is another article that is giving some more information and details about his activities. They say Alexei Milchakov, which appears with Nazi symbols, calls to kill animals, homeless people, and children. And here is a kind of paragraph of what he was saying. Today I was convinced once again that a dog is not only a man's friend, but also a good barbecue. Animals also have rights, and I respect their rights to be delicious, fried, and do not have a lot of veins and bones. Cut the homeless, puppies, and children. Run away from the mongrels and hand over yours. And this is the guy. He's called Alexei Yurievich Milchakov, and his nickname is Fritz. He appears in one of the photos with where he was very young, but as he was cruel to animals, later became a cruel person with people. Just that's what it is. And he appears here as his group Rusish, together with Alexei Milchakov and Jan Petrovsky. They together were in Crimea, and here they appear officially with the head of Crimea, Sergei, Aksionov, and he gave them some awards, and this was in the frame of the Union of Donbass Volunteers, and this was in May 2016. So his group has some official recognition from the Russian government. And this is the article that gives details about some of the activities that happened in Lugansk, where they were ambushing the IDAR group, and they killed a lot of them, and they did photographs of the bodies and did a lot of very disgusting things with this guy. I will post a link to this if you want to see it. Honestly, it's very shocking, so you need to decide for your own if you want to see it. It's just something that is going to be very, very, very disgusting, really. That's what they were saying they were doing there. So there's evidence of this, there's still there online this. There is more information about the fact that they were referring to some evidence that Russisch was in Ukraine, and this is a photo, and they were mentioning that there were some Telegram channels where they were saying that Alexei Milchakov was wounded in the Luhansk region. And so this is one of the photos, and they were mentioning another photo here. Let me show you that. I cannot find it here. I think it's the section where they say that there was some evidence that he was in Ukraine. Let's see. Yeah, it's here. This one section here is not, there is no photo there. It says on May 27, Telegram channel showed a photo where you can see Milchakov and Petrovsky in Ukraine. So they are in a photo, and they say Milchakov is back in action. Now he's somewhere in the vastness of Ukraine, actively engaged in the denazification and demilitarization. So this is from their BK page for the Russisch group, and here is the photo that was in this article from the Focus website. So this is the official BK page for the Russisch group, and this is the photo that they were referring, where it was both Milchakov and Petrovsky in Ukraine, and this is from April of this year. So they are here. This is the photo that they were referring to. So all of this is you can verify it, and I also wanted to bring your attention to this. This is the official emblem of the group, the Russisch group, and this is Kolovrat is called. The symbol is a sun-shaped swastika with 8 arms, and it has been used by Slavic neo-pagans, and is used to symbolize the sun without any far-right connotations, but also used as a hate symbol, and is used by far-right groups in a number of Slavic countries, mainly in Russia and Ukraine. And they use the Kolovrat in place of a swastika, and this is to far-right groups is a symbol of Slavic heritage used to draw contrast to non-Slavs. So this is less common known symbol, and it has different uses, not only far-right or neo-Nazi uses. So there is that, just to put everything into context. And what I wanted to say at the last is the list of neo-Nazi organizations worldwide, and it is all over the place. They have things in Africa, South Africa, America, of course, Asia, Europe is prevalent, completely prevalent. There are groups in Australia, New Zealand, and in many other places, even in Mexico, my country, there's neo-Nazi groups, so they are everywhere. So this is a big problem. Neo-Nazis is a big problem. It just has different degrees of influence on each country. But the main thing is that in Europe they have recently, taken front stage, and they are very influential in recent things. Here I will include some information, more information about Azov and their current negative influence in the government. So just to give you a bit of a background, when 2014 and the Maidan coup happened, the first president that came after that was Petro Poroshenko. Petro Poroshenko was in bed with the Nazis. He openly supported them, and he had no more things to say about them except praise. He encouraged these groups, and they grew in influence in the country, and it was disgusting the things they were doing during this period. They continued to do, and they grew out of control, really. And as much as we can criticize Zelensky, at the start he wanted to show publicly that he was going to put them, rein them, put them in control. He ran in a peace platform that was his campaign's promise, but he couldn't do it. He didn't have the force, the strength to do it, because they were everywhere in the government and they had so much power that he was unable to do it. This is an infamous video that where Zelensky goes to the Donbass, tells them that they are supposed to withdraw, as part of his peace campaign that he wanted to follow, and this guy and other groups officially told them, we're not going to pull back. And later these nationalists threatened to kill him, and they continued to do it. So he has no power in Ukraine, absolutely no power. He cannot do anything. They control absolutely everything. You can see the dialogue here. I will post the link to all these in the description area of the video, so you can take a look. Here is another recent article. This is from May 29, about an interview with Steve Sweeney, an international editor in newspaper The Morning Star, where he mentions how British media is whitewashing Ukrainian neo-Nazis, and it's just that he says it's a great effort is being made to really whitewash or rehabilitate the neo-Nazi Azov military battalion as either having no influence in Ukraine or being just simply misunderstood nationalists. And he goes on to say some more things. You can take a look at the video if you have access to RT. If not, you can consider using a VPN for that, because it's illegal in some countries according to the authorities. And he also mentions that he had some kind of hostile welcome when he arrived in the country. Ukrainian authorities were not very positive about his presence in the country. So that's all I wanted to say, guys. And as always, I ask you to let me know what you think in the comment section. Please like this video, share it in social media, subscribe to the channel, and I hope to see you again very soon. Thank you for watching.